Today we are talking all about enchantments for combat. Enchantments for your sword, your axe, your trident, your bows, your crossbows, and your armor, all covered in one video with a really easy way to understand all of these different enchantments. So let's jump in. So here we are inside of Minecraft, and this is a nice arena where we will be showing off all of the various different enchantments that we are going to be taking a look at today. And I hope that this also is a great primer on almost everything around combat in Minecraft, because we're going to be taking a look at every type of weapon that you can have in the game and taking a quick look at armor at the end. So starting off, I just want to show you a little bit of, oh yeah, that's not what I wanted at all. Just a little bit of what we have here. I have just a plain old wooden sword, and I have a dummy here that whenever I attack him, you can see that the health changes right there, and then I can reset that dummy. So here with this wooden sword, whenever I attack the dummy, it will attack for 4 hearts of damage. And now that's actually 4 damage points. That's actually only 2 hearts of damage, but it's a nice indicator right there, right at the top, so that you can easily follow along with everything that we're showing off here. So let's talk about first some of the enchantments that you can get on a sword. And instead of going through exactly like every single bit of data around wooden swords, iron swords, diamond swords, all that sort of stuff, what's nice is that Minecraft sort of does all of that for you. So you can see that this original wooden sword, every time that we attacked our dummy here, that it was 4 damage points. So it went from 20 to 16. And you can also see that the attack damage on the sword, whenever you are holding this, whenever you hover over it, I guess I should say, is that attack damage is also 4. Well, if I look over here at the Sharpness 5 wooden sword, the attack damage is 7. So if we reset and use that Sharpness 5 sword, you can see that it is also 7. So Minecraft kind of gives you a really nice way to know exactly what your weapons are going to do on your melee weapons. That's not true with your bows, your tridents when you're using them in throw mode, and your crossbows. So this is only true for melee weapons. Also, another factor to consider is that critical hits matter. So a critical hit is when the player is falling down and you swing at the same time. And you can tell the difference between a critical hit and a normal hit, because a normal hit does not have really any particles other than the hearts and maybe your swing particles. But a critical hit, there will be extra particles. So you can see, oh gosh, I killed him. So once again, you can see those particles that sort of fly off. They look like little stars whenever you hit the player. That is a critical hit. And you remember that this does 4 hearts or 4 damage points. Then a critical hit, that does 6. So we went from 16 down to 10. So and from 10 down to 4. So that does 6 damage points, where a normal strike only does 4. So that added an extra heart of damage. And that kind of fluctuates depending on your enchantment and whatever level of weapon you're using. So these wooden swords, they're not very great. They don't have much normal attack value. So using this Sharpness sword, you can see that by default it's 7, but a critical, that will be 9. So that added an additional heart as well. So both of these wooden swords added an extra heart of damage depending on, you know, those two both happen to be the same amount as a single heart. So Sharpness just generally adds attack damage to whatever weapon you are applying it to. Moving on to Fire Aspect, and this comes in a few different varieties. This is Fire Aspect 2. This will not give you any more damage when initially attacking the person or player or mob, but it will set them on fire, and you can see that it's hit them 7 times. So it hit them with fire damage 7 times, and that took away an additional 7 points of damage. So we started here at 16, and as that fire lasts on the player, they get down to 9, and then they're put out. So that takes a sword that only had an attack damage of 4 and really gave it an attack damage of 11 because of that extra fire. And so this sword right here has an attack damage of 7. That's just with sharpness, but using commands, we can enchant this up to have the same fire aspect and give it the full level. So now it'll attack for 7. And remember, if we fall while we're attacking, it'll attack for 9, and then add the 7 points of fire damage also applied. So that should be 16. This will be 16 hearts of damage, leaving the dummy here with only 4 hearts at the end, or 4 damage points at the very end. So you can see that even just a wooden sword can become really powerful with only 2 enchantments. So that is the sharpness enchantment and the fire aspect enchantment. Taking another look at the next enchantment, we're going to be talking about knockback. So knockback really doesn't change the damage. It doesn't change it doesn't add any effect like poison or anything like that. It is just how far the player is hit away. So this will push the player further back. So right here, just standing still, that pushed the player a little bit more than 6 blocks away. And we're starting at 0 here. And then a critical hit doesn't really change what the knockback does. So knockback is the same whether it's a critical hit or if it is just a normal hit. Knockback can sometimes be considered annoying to have, because if you're actually trying to attack a player and they are running away from you and you use knockback, they may actually gain an awful lot of distance on you, and it is more difficult to kill a player, especially with melee weapons, if they've been knocked farther away. So I personally actually avoid getting knockback on my weapons because I find that they don't work all that great in PvP situations. Now, if this is a world, like a single player world, and you're never going to have to interact with other players, maybe this is a great thing to have against mobs. Oh no, I needed that. So you can keep that in mind if you want your sword to have knockback to deal with mobs, to get them farther away from you. You can deal with a lot more mobs if you're constantly pushing them away to deal with a big crowd of, say, zombies or something like that. So those are a few of the enchantments, but let's go into specifically, when it comes to swords, the different base attack damage. So we've been working with wooden swords so far, and you could see that the attack damage was 4 to start out with. Well, that is the same attack damage for gold. So gold also has a 4 attack damage. Then you move on to stone, and that has a 5. Then iron, that is 6. And then diamond is 7 attack damage at its base. So 7 attack damage, that's pretty cool. But what people don't always realize is that axes also have a really high attack damage. So wooden axes, golden axes, and stone axes all also have an attack damage of 7. And just to show this off here, whoops, I don't want that. I'm going to grab a few of these swords here and weapons, and you can see that when we look at them all in our inventory, diamond sword, attack damage 7, wooden axe, attack damage 7, and a stone axe actually has attack damage of 9. Wait a second. Oh my gosh, I did this all wrong. Okay, well, a golden axe also has attack damage of 7, so sorry, little wooden axe, you should actually be over here. Well, you can also see that diamond axes have an attack damage of 9, so do iron axes, they have an attack damage of 9, and then over here on the tridents, way down here, they also have an attack damage of 9. So if you're looking for a high basic attack damage is actually more powerful on axes. Now, axes have a disadvantage, and that is that they are slower than swords. So you can see underneath my crosshair, there is an indicator on how quickly I am ready to do another full attack. And so you can see sort of the speed of this axe if I'm getting it just perfect every single time. Now move over to sword, and you can see that it is much faster than the axe. So it really depends on your fighting style. Are you someone who wants to click and attack a lot more often, or do you want to wait and hold on to your attacks so that you can give a stronger attack right off the bat? Now, we are just talking about base attack. Let's talk about with enchantments. So this is a diamond sword with sharpness, and this is a diamond axe with sharpness. You can put sharpness on an axe, except that you have to do it in an anvil. There's no way to do this in a normal enchanting table. You do need to get a sharpness 5 book and then put that book onto the axe. That is the best way to get That's the only way to get sharpness on an axe. So with a sword, you'll get a attack damage of 10, and we can also just test that out right here. So if we attack right here, yep, that is an attack damage of 10. If we do a critical attack, that is an attack damage of 13. So it's quite a lot. 13 attack damage. That is pretty amazing with your critical attack. And then a diamond axe. Once again, that was a attack damage of 12. And that is true. And then a critical attack of 16. 16. That critical attack adds an extra 2 hearts or 4 points of damage. So if this was a fire aspect 2 sharpness 5 diamond axe, that is a 1-hit kill, because the fire damage, unless if the player put themselves out, then the fire damage would deal the rest of the damage to get them completely killed. I guess it's true with the sword would also kill, because that last damage point would take them all the way down to 0. Now, I am kind of ignoring tridents. That is because I don't find tridents all that amazing. And also, you cannot enchant a trident with sharpness. Sharpness is not something that you can put on a trident. And so that attack damage kind of stays at 9. So it's good if it's not enchanted. If you happen to find one, you haven't enchanted any of your other stuff, it's a fine melee weapon if you would like to use that. And let's try the critical here. Critical attack is 13. So I don't know. I'm not really a huge fan of the trident. It also changes its attack damage when you toss it to be 6. So I'm not a big fan of the trident. I feel like it has a lot of caveats. It's a cool thing. It's super hard to find, but at the end of the day, I feel like the axe and the sword are much better melee weapons. So let's talk about bows now. A normal bow, this is a completely unenchanted bow. So if we take it and shoot our dummy with it, and this is at full power, that is an 8-shot hit. So the arrow here, it will change based off of if it is a full powered shot or a non-full powered shot. And you can tell the difference because of the particles that the arrow leaves behind. If you don't fully load or fully pull back that arrow, it will not have those particles and it will not be a critical hit. So a critical hit, that is a critical hit right there. That was a attack of 9, which is funny because our previous attack was an attack of 8. So that is attack of 8. Let's try this one more time. That was attack of 7. So bows are a little bit different because there's a lot more factors that go into a bow. So that's only a 2, attack. So there's lots and lots of factors with how far you pull the bow back, how far it hits, all that sort of stuff. So that's one of the reasons that when you hover over it, it doesn't exactly tell you what your damage level will be. But remember that starting off, if you are hitting a critical, that is around, see, that was attack damage of 10. Bows are confusing to me. That's still an awful lot. So let's say that that is the attack damage of 10. Unenchanted, nothing hits that level. So nothing, no other weapon is an attack damage of 10 without any enchants. So that's pretty powerful. Now, a power 5 bow. Power is basically the same as sharpness when it comes to the enchanting on a bow. Power adds more damage to your bow strike. So using a power 5 bow, you can one-shot kill a opponent. So power 5 is really quite a nice weapon to have, because on all of the melee weapons that we had talked about before, you were not able to one-shot kill somebody without the flame enchantment. So that was power 5. Let's move on to punch 2. Punch is just like knockback, where knockback can be gotten all the way up to knockback 2. Punch is basically the same thing. It doesn't push the player back nearly as far, so they're resting in between that 4 and 5 mark right there when it comes to punch, and that's basically it. So punch is knockback, but for bows. So if you would like to have your players or mobs or whatever knock back, then you're going to put punch onto that. Flame is the same as fire aspect, except that flame is all you get. With fire aspect, you can have fire aspect 1 and fire aspect 2, and the second version, the second level of fire aspect, will have the player be on fire for longer. You don't get that with bows, you just get flame. So that's it. And that only took the player down 4 points, I should say, of damage. So that initial hit is 10. Actually, that one was only 8. And then they will take an additional 4 points of damage from that fire. So not as powerful as the fire aspect enchantment. Now, there's another thing to talk about, and that is crossbows. Although crossbows cannot be enchanted with power. So you have power 5, which is that one-shot kill with a bow. With crossbows, all you get is multi-shot, quick charge, and piercing. So with a normal crossbow, here, let's go ahead and heal our dummy up. This will take 11 points of damage, and I believe, whoops, I shouldn't have done that. I believe, yeah, there we go. So that was a 8 point, and that one was 7. So you can see that there's variety amongst how much damage the crossbow does as well. Now, the enchantments here, they may seem a lot worse because you don't get that one-shot kill with the power 5, but multi-shot is pretty powerful, considering that you could basically hit someone with 3 different arrows. So here at full health, if we're able to get all 3 arrows to land, and it looks like we didn't, then yeah, so I think that this may be something that will be fixed in the combat snapshot, but right now there's a moment of invulnerability when you take damage, and that means that the other 2 arrows are not actually landing on the player. So you're not actually doing 3 times the amount of damage, which would be a one-shot kill. But I do know that Jeb in the combat snapshots was talking about changing that so that if you are able to get up close with a multi-shot, it would do 3 times the damage, and that would be a one-shot kill. Next is quick charge, and with quick charge, it just takes the amount of time that you have to reload, and it reduces that. So same amount of damage, but you're able to shoot much faster, and that is actually faster than a bow because you get the full power of the shot every single time. Finally is piercing, and piercing will not do much for you if you are only fighting a single opponent, but you can see that the arrow goes through the player, and it would go through multiple different people. So piercing 4 would go through 5 different opponents, because piercing 1 goes through 1. I guess it would go through 4 different opponents, but it could hit 5 different opponents, because piercing 1 will go through 1 person, hitting 2 people, 2 go through 2 people, hitting 3 people. So piercing 4 would go through 4 different mobs, creatures, or players, and hit a total of 5 of them. So it doesn't really do a lot in a 1v1 situation, but if you're dealing with crowds or big mobs of mobs, then piercing would be useful. So when you're playing in PvP, definitely a bow with power 5, that will be way more powerful than really any other weapon. Now let's talk about armor, because armor changes everything. So first, we're just going to apply some diamond armor. Armor is very, very, very complicated, and looking at some of there's literally like math functions with crazy, it's insane once you start getting into armor And then when you add enchantments on top of that, there's like points of protection that can max out and blah, 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 blah. So to kind of dumb that down a little bit, I am just going to show you what some of these things do, some of these weapons do with the armor equipped versus not equipped and whatnot. And I think that that is going to be the easiest way to just demonstrate the effectiveness of armor, because otherwise it's all just way, 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 way too complicated. So to show this off, I'm going to start off with no armor, and we're going to start with our wooden sword, our Sharpness 5 wooden sword. So no armor with a critical hit, that does 9 points of damage. But with diamond armor and a critical hit, that only does a single heart of damage, 2 points of damage. So it took it down from basically half of your health missing to only 1 heart of your health missing, or 2 points of damage. So you can see the huge advantage that armor has, especially diamond armor here, when dealing with really anything. Next, I'm going to enchant this diamond armor with protection. So every piece of armor here has protection 4, which will give an effective point rating of 20, and you max out at 25. All that is really complicated. Just don't worry about it. So remember, we did 9 points earlier. Then we only did a single heart or 2 points of damage. And now with protection 4, this wooden sword sometimes does half a heart of damage. So it really, really changes the game when you have protection on armor and armor itself. So let's go back to no armor with just a normal bow. It ranges between 8 and 10. With diamond armor, that's a heart again, so that's only 2 points of damage. So another 2 points. That one was 3 points of damage. So it ranges between 2 and 3 points of damage. And then with protection armor on, didn't even hurt. That's a half heart, another half heart, another half heart, another half heart. So it goes down to a half heart of damage. Now, let's take a look at our diamond sword. This had sharpness on it. So with sharpness and a critical hit, that is down to 7, so 13 points of damage. Then with diamond armor on, that is 4. So that is 2 hearts of damage, 4 points of damage. And then heal him up and put some protection on him with the enchanted protection 4 armor. That ranges in between half a heart and a full heart of damage. So pretty powerful stuff. Now it's time for the diamond axe. A critical hit. That is so much damage. That is 16 points of damage. With diamond armor, that takes it down to only 2 hearts. Whoa, that was a lot, actually. That was 3 hearts of damage. And that was another 3 hearts of damage. So once again, you can see that the axe is much more powerful. That was 6 points. That would have been 6 points again, 6 points again. And the sword was 4 points, 5 points, and that was 6 points again. So you can see that the axe really actually finally kind of starts cutting through this armor. Then enchanted, let's see. Yeah, wow, that is crazy. Only a single heart. That is another single heart and another single heart. So 2 points each whenever you have the enchanted armor. Now, let's move back to the bow. I don't want to go through the process of respawning this guy. We know that the power 5 bow was a 1-hit kill before. So let's switch to diamond armor and go ahead and peg this guy. That is only 5 points of damage. That one was way more. Holy moly. That was 9 points of damage. And that was, oh my gosh, I need to stop killing him. Okay, let's try this again. That was 6 points. 7 points of damage. So it really ranges 5 points of damage, 6 points of damage, 7 points of damage. So that ranges an awful lot. Then let's throw protection 4 onto this character, and 3 points, 2 points, 3 points, 3 points. So you can see enchanted diamond armor protection 4, that is obviously going to be the best. And just for fun, let's show just what your hand does. You know, whenever you just have a normal player, you punch him, that's just a half heart, so that's 1 point of damage. And then if you jump, sometimes you're able to get a full heart of damage whenever you're jumping. But with protection 4 diamond armor, your little punches they don't do anything. Even if you're hitting criticals, there's like nothing you can do. Fall damage, hooray, a half point. There you go. I hope that you enjoy learning about these enchantments. I was shocked about some of the stuff around the axes and how good axes are. And then also, I was sort of under the impression that crossbows were a little bit better than they are. But really seeing that power 5 versus a crossbow that doesn't, you know, have that really can't get up to a power 5 level of attack, that is just blew my mind. I mean, it's just incredible. A one-hit kill with a bow. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I hope that you learned something from this video as well. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a big old thumbs up and subscribe for future videos, tips, tricks, tutorials, and spotlights here on OMG Craft. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.